let me explain you how to do it in less than a minute, and if you still need help, I'll explain it to you in details. So in brief, what you have to do is in Preference, remove the background render, do your render manually by hitting the Ctrl and R button on the selected items. On Import, leave file in place, and on your project, select the rendering option codec to 422 LT, Apple ProRes. And sometime when it starts to take some place, go in File, delete Generate Files, and delete everything. That's it. So why is your Final Cut project take so much space? Actually, I've got my Final Cut folder just right here. This one is really not too big because I do it correctly. So why you're taking so much space, your hard drive is full and you're not able to work anymore because it is just taking so much space. First thing first, every time you do a new project, create a new library. That means in Final Cut, you create a new library. This, just right here, is a library that contains every part clips, links, your project, your timeline, your effect, everything is just right in there. The render goes in there. You'll see what I mean very soon. So why Final Cut Pro takes so much space on your hard drive? This is my library. Actually, it's only 11.36 gigabyte, which is very fine. It's not too much because I do it correctly. Why is it so small in my case? So number one, every time you do a new project, create a new library. This way you'll be able to handle the quantity of space it takes for every single project. Then there is some default settings that you should change from Final Cut. So if we come in Final Cut Preference, just right here, in the section Import, this one, the file that we see, the default option is Copy to Library Storage Location. That means if you have your file in your computer and you bring it to Final Cut will copy the file to set it inside your library. So if you have 4 gigabyte files in your hard drive and you put it in Final Cut, that will double that 4 gigabyte file into the library. So you will have all of your file twice on your hard drive. So the best thing to do is to leave the file in place. So just by clicking just right here, you will avoid copying all of your files, making all of your files to be doubled. And then there's another thing. We can leave this window. So click on your project and go on the upper right corner here and do Modify. The default setting is probably something like 422HQ. I don't know why they did that. This is the rendering type. That means when you bring a file into Final Cut, most of the time it's in a format that is complicated for video editing software to read fluidly. So what Final Cut do with that, it compresses it into its own codec. And Apple ProRes 422 is the lowest quality codec for Final Cut. Just put it on Apple ProRes 422. You'll see you will save a lot of place. If you want to understand how much space it could take, this is a video of 21 minutes. So if I want to export the file, by default, when you export a file, it's in H.264. This is a 4K project, by the way. So if I export this project in H.264, which is a compressed video, I will get a file of 11.1 gigabyte. If I go in Apple ProRes LT, which is the way it is actually compressed, it will weigh 67 gigabyte. and I said earlier that I think that 422HQ is the default one, it will weigh 143 GB. So just by going down to LT, you will save a lot of space. And you don't have the choice. It's just made like that. You have to render your files. That's the way video editing software works. It's like that for every editing software. But there is one other stupid thing. Okay, let's talk about rendering. You see those little dots just right here? That means that our file down there is not rendered. So let's remove this. By default, if you do nothing for a few seconds, Final Cut will render it. I actually disable that function. So if I go in Preference and Playback, you see you got this background render. This one is checked by default. So every time you stop moving your mouse or doing something with your keyboard, it will start render and take space until it's done. Actually, because I click on this, I have to select all and do Control R to render my project. And as you can see just right here, it is rendering the project, and the dot disappear because it's now rendered. The dot means that what's under it is not rendered. Everything is now rendered. And of course, my my file just right here take much space than before. So if let's say I do add a title. You see just the part just right here where I have the title is not rendered anymore. And now nothing is rendered. So if I want to render it again, see, it starts taking much and much and much and much more space. There. Okay. And go back here and change title for text. Oops. You see? It's not rendered anymore. Because when it's rendered, it's looking from the top to the bottom and it's created a video file for all of this. So I have to render it again. And what it does, it takes more space. And more space again. And more and more and more. So what can you do to avoid that? Well, you can't do nothing to avoid that, but you can delete those files that are now unused. Okay, so if you want to delete it, you go in File and you do Delete Generated Files. You now have some option. You want to delete rendered file? If you would like, you can delete unused only, or you can remove all of them. You can't remove something that you don't want by coming in this place. The worst thing you will have to do is to re-render something. So what I recommend you to do is to just delete everything. Delete, and hit the OK button. You see, actually, it is 15.81. Let's wait a few seconds. Voila. We just removed everything. And everything is still working. So if I come back here, everything was rendered earlier. Now, nothing is rendered. Almost.
So this is it. Thank you for watching. I hope it helps. If yes, please make a thumbs up. If you have any question, please ask in the comment below. I may simply answer you or even maybe make a video just for you. So don't forget to subscribe, and what you do see back there, it's from my main channel, so please come take a look at this right there. Thank you for watching again. See ya!